What's going on? I almost didn't record today because I don't know. I don't know. I didn't want to break my streak though. That's the thing. I think that's important. I think that there's a thing that goes on in your brain that's like if you start and you have momentum and you have more than like 2 or 3 days of momentum, there's this idea in your human mind where your monkey brain that's like don't stop like you know you've done this for a while. Now you're going to lose something if you don't do this. And I think that that's a cool idea because I don't know. So I did a bunch of stuff today. I managed a bunch of files on my phone and deleted a bunch of stuff. I went to Magic and I tried to download all my Drive files onto my I yesterday I completed all of the videos for the Cause Collaborative, and today I wrote up an invoice and sent it to them. So hopefully $830 is going to magically make its way into my bank account. Maybe I shouldn't explain details like that. That's okay. I think there's an edit feature on YouTube now, so I can trim that if I want to. Um, anyway, so the uh, videos are done, and I'm gonna get paid for those. I went to the bank and I cashed a bunch of checks that the Magic Center gave us, and that's really good because that's in our accounts now, so that's fine. Um, my parents are coming tomorrow to help me move a bunch of stuff from this room. This room is being rented to my cousin, and the only other thing that I have to worry about is that test on Tuesday. And I have been procrastinating studying for that test because it's just something that I don't want to do, which is pathetic. And it's like, hey, no, I just need to like endure. I need to wake up early tomorrow, or well, I guess we're gonna go have fun tonight. So I guess waking up early tomorrow might not, you know, happen. But so that's okay. It's not tomorrow morning, but maybe tomorrow night I'm gonna be going with my parents home. So probably Sunday is gonna be the majority of my studying. I'm really gonna have to study Sunday. I'm probably gonna wake up early um, and study for that test. Um, or maybe, yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna have to do. Um, and I don't know. I think I need to complete the first part. There's two parts. There's three parts. There's the first multiple choice part. There's the second multiple choice part, and then there's like the Google Analytics portion. So I don't know. Once I do the multiple choice, I go through the multiple choice, and I highlighted all of the uh, keywords that I don't understand, and then I made flashcards of them. So that was really helpful for the first part. There are some terms in there that are like equations, and so I need to memorize those equations. And once I have the flashcards and everything made, it should be very quick. But I think the main challenge is just like, hey, get the flashcards made. That's been the real challenge today, or I mean, for that test. But I don't know. This is my last test ever, and once I'm done with it, it's like that I get to go and live my life. I get to go build a life. And I think that's really cool. I don't know. I was listening to the Jordan Peterson podcast. I found this Jordan Peterson podcast that just has a bunch of his lectures from 2016 through now, kind of saved and saved as podcasts on this app, or I mean, sorry, on this podcast episode thing. I was listening to an episode today about JP talking about his book 12 Rules for Life, and there's a couple key things that I took away from that. Number one is that he has not memorized the rules. So I think you could infer two things from that. Number one, that he's a hypocrite, and that he's giving this book where he writes 12 things, and he believes that everyone should live their life by these 12 rules, and yet he doesn't even remember the rules and he can't list them off. And then it's like, okay, I'm sure that there are people who are going to read that as that. But I think the other way you could read that is, this is a guy that has internalized these things, and like, when he sat down and he thought about it, then these things came out. But he doesn't actively hold himself to that level of cognitive ability every single day of his life. Even though he's written that book, he doesn't have that ingrained into his soul. And I think that that's really important, because it's like, wow, these books that I've read that I don't really retain every single granular piece of information from, like, I don't know, that like nobody does. I think it's just like, you're not going to absorb every single piece of info from a book. But what you can do is kind of get some of the gist, and then you can kind of like bounce around like a pinball, bouncing off a bunch of little things that go bing, 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 until you kind of, uh, you know, hopefully get on a path that's more educated. And that's kind of, I don't know. I've been watching like documentaries recently, and I want to like get into more documentary stuff. Stuff like about like history, particularly, and stuff about like geography. I don't know if there's any geography documentaries, but I don't know anything about geography. I don't know where anything is in the world, which is really bad. Because it's like, I don't know, like if I want to make things for a global market, right? If I'm going to make videos for a global market, or I'm going to make a product, people who have money in Guatemala, like their money's just as good as the money in the United States. I don't know if Guatemala is a country that's stricken by poverty. See, this is bad. This is why I don't even know what's a good country that like is kind of remote that still has a lot of money. I don't know. I couldn't name a single one. I just really don't know. So that's bad. But yeah, so I've been watching documentaries. I want to learn more about geography and history. Um, Jordan Peterson didn't know his 12 rules for life. But okay, I think it's like rule number 4 or something. He talks about, don't compare yourself to the people around you. Um, he talks about this one guy who was like going through depression, and he made appointments. He made a clinical appointment with Dr. Peterson repeatedly, and Dr. Peterson's, and he's like, I'm not measuring up to my peers, and Dr. Peterson was like, who are you measuring yourself against? And then the guy's roommate in college was Elon Musk, or I'm sorry, yeah, and it's like, and that gets a huge laugh from the crowd, and it's like, well, I don't know, I think there's a lot of truth in that. I think a bunch of people are walking around upstairs. Um, and it's like, okay, this guy's comparing himself to Elon Musk, and he's absolutely miserable. And I don't know. So Jordan Peterson says, the argument that you have to make is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, and try to make yourself a little bit better today than you were yesterday. And it's really hard to hear that and not think about what I'm doing right here, because it's like, I want this to be a log of data points. I also want it to be me rationalizing and thinking about problems and thinking them through. Um, Somebody's screaming upstairs. And so I think that this is going to serve exactly the same purpose as what he's describing in that chapter of that book. Compare yourself to the person who you were a little bit earlier, because that's the only thing you can do. Because if you compare yourself to Elon Musk, you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail hard. So, I don't know. I think this process has helped me make incremental progress in my life, um, and that has been really helpful, and I hope it continues to be helpful, especially when I enter a new place full of a bunch of new people and a bunch of scary situations that I know nothing about. um, I don't know. Also today, I think I let myself get really bogged down with thinking again, thinking constantly about and having anxiety and getting really attached to outcomes. And last night I couldn't sleep. So I listened to an interview. It was an Oprah interview with Eckhart Tolle. And basically, he just kind of, at the beginning of the interview, he outlines his idea that, uh, consciousness precedes thinking, right? Like, you can be conscious without having to think. and thinking causes you anxiety. Thinking makes you go crazy. Um, you know, and the key, the true trick to happiness is how to be conscious without constantly thinking. Um, and I understood that, and I still understand that, but I just think it's a really hard thing to implement and practice, especially when there's so much going on around you, you know. But I feel like I was spending a lot more time previously, like in the present moment, and as soon as you get rid of that, I think having a morning routine and then keeping that in mind, those are two superpowers. Like when you meet a person that does both of those things, like it's like they're on another level. Um, and I would like to get back there. But first, before I do that, I'm gonna go and get really drunk and hopefully go to a bar and have some fun with some friends. Um, and I do expect to have fun. And if it's not fun, then that's okay. That's another data point. You know, that's another data point. I don't know. But these people, you know, I'm not going to see them for a long time. So I don't know. I want to go have fun with them, and that's the plan. So I know drinking is bad, and I know that that's another video, but we're gonna go have fun. Okay.